Hi, I'm Dubber, I'm the director of Music Tech Fest, and this is Scrimshire. What you're hearing is an exclusive version of a song called Convergent, a version that's not available on vinyl, CD, streaming, or download. It's only on a t-shirt, or rather, a new physical-digital hybrid format called TJ. Have a listen.
It's no surprise that you destroyed it all. Came down inspired to raise it to the floor. Held up your arms and brought it to a close. No more said, the end of this. Every word slips away. Loving you is like an ending. The curtains must be pulled tight and sewn shut. The sun can never rise on this ocean. And no one will be waking up. The seas would have to rise and clean you before the world could come through your door. And fire will have to burn this house down, but no one will be waking up.
Convergent by London recording artist, composer and label manager Scrimshire. Also happens to be one of my all-time favourite songs. We were lucky enough to have Adam Scrimshire join us at MTF Stockholm. Music Tech Fest's founder and the inventor of the TJ format, Michaela Magas, sat down on stage with him to chat about music. Scrimshire's music in particular, of course, but also what it means to make and release music today, and the kind of innovation that we need in order to address things like sustainability of independent music in the digital age. Here's Michaela Magas at MTF Stockholm with Adam Scrimshire. Enjoy.
I have to rewind a couple of years, 2-3 years even, Adam, wasn't it? He was such an incredible sport. First of all, we were huge fans of his music. I'm going to embarrass you now, aren't I? Because we were like, he's now a colleague, a friend, but we were such huge fans of his music. And there was this moment when I said to Dubber, we've got to do a t-shirt as a track. This is just got to happen. We've got the kind of tech that would make this happen. And we need to choose the first artist who could carry this off. And this concept we will tell you a little bit more about. We've got it here with us. But Dubber said, I know who will go for it. And it was Adam Scrimshire. So warm applause for Adam Scrimshire, and we'll tell you more about it.
Thank you.
So we leapt into the sort of future of music publishing here immediately, but when I look at your bio, and I'm just going to read it, it says, Adam Scrimshire started making music on an Amiga 500 with a Yamaha tone generator and an 8-bit sampler at the age of 14.
Yes.
How could this even happen?
I guess it's quite late in some ways, but there was a lot of music in the house, but no musicians in the family at all. So I never got really introduced to that side of things. But there were records playing all the time, and my memory of it essentially is one night my mum was playing some old early George Benson, I think, and I remember sitting up, I remember kneeling up. I'd have been about 12 or something, 12 and a half. And I remember sitting up and pretending to play it along on my pillow, playing piano on my pillow. And I got up the following day and said, I really want to learn to play piano. I want to play keys. I've never played an instrument. I really want to do it. And I got really into it. But I didn't really get on with lessons very well. I really struggled with that. The guy who was teaching me insisted I was too old to really do it anyway, which was kind of mad and frustrating. And
but yeah, my dad was really into networking. He did a lot of very early computer training at the back end of the 70s, and that's where we had moved up to Cambridge, and that was part of that. So he's mad into networking and software development, and he, rather than buying me, I wanted like a Yamaha keyboard with like all the buttons and crap on it, and instead he wanted to buy me a little synthesizer and a MIDI interface and cables and make me put a computer together and do it instead. So that was how I came at it in that way. My dad just, decided to go the complicated way rather than just get me a cheap keyboard.
That's a great dad, because we have all through tomorrow and the next day families at this festival and fathers who are bringing their children. And of course, when they get presented with some of this music tech that happens here, it's like Lego bricks to them, or it's just totally kind of, they just basically, I mean, they're fearless with all this new stuff.
Yeah, totally.
So you started, but you started writing music immediately, or?
Yes. Yeah. So he got me a thing called Octamed off the cover of a Amiga magazine, and because I wasn't really getting on with lessons, I just wanted to actually and I could play a little bit, I could recognise melodies and stuff, but I just wanted to program stuff. So I got immediately into using tracker programs and programming and stuff, and spent, I guess, about a year and a half or whatever, just every night coming home from school and just programming beats over and over and over again. Terrible, horrible stuff. And yeah, just gradually learning this process, because again, there was just no connection to that. I didn't have many friends that were writing music, and it was kind of a solo journey really. But yeah, it was just something that I did. I became quite obsessed with, and just spent hours and hours doing that, and then would buy CDs or whatever, my favourite stuff, and learn how to transcribe them essentially and program copies of those things, which kind of helped me learn some of the principles, I guess, of composition.
Amazing. You say that you had some trouble with lessons. Did you have trouble in school in general, the way it was set up?
No, it wasn't so much. It was more the private teaching. I had a classical piano teacher, and he was of the opinion that there was no hope for me at 14 to learn to play piano. And after 6 months of persisting with that situation, I kind of agreed with him, really. I love playing the piano, but I absolutely just sort of detested those lessons and having to go and do that. But school was actually great. I was really, really lucky. I went to an amazing school outside Cambridge that did a lot of performing arts. So I also studied dance and ballet and contemporary, and so did a lot of composition involved with dance and for the dance department and that kind of stuff. So no, I was actually really, really lucky, and got into the kind of situation where they're like, well, we want to get into buying some more technology for the music department, and I would get involved with helping get stuff in and set that up, and I would be given the keys to the room and stuff. So that's kind of, I used to go back when the cleaners were cleaning and just go into school and like play drums and learn all the bits.
But do you think that when you started playing with some of these technologies, it was actually opening up new kind of literacies for you? I mean, you were training on new kinds of ways of expression, I suspect. Yes,
and it led in both directions. So I wanted to learn more instruments because I wanted to understand what it is that defines how an instrument sounds, how a drum works in a particular way, or how a guitar sounds, because I was just programming using MIDI, and very, very poor quality, like old, just a cheap little MIDI instrument. So I was learning I wanted to learn other instruments in order to understand how when you strum a guitar, not every note sounds the same, or not every note is the same velocity or whatever, and things like that. So yeah, it really, I became, I would say, pretty much 100 times more curious than I ever was before I had that MIDI interface. I became completely lost in asking questions about how things work and how that moves, and how to put those together.
Actually, in a way, it's a shame that all our hackers and Trackathon participants are actually having a meetup upstairs, because I mean they're totally in your mindset. Every single one has got that kind of zest for it. But what's interesting is then, of course, as I say, you're one of my favorite composers. I can say that. I really can. But you're a multi-instrumentalist, and we can see how you got there. It was through both influence and availability, and this is what is a great lesson for any school,
Yes.
making things available, accessible to students, but also through curiosity, as you say.
Yeah.
But then you actually took a leap into record label and
Yeah.
label management. I mean, that's kind of quite a different thing, isn't it?
It is, but as Ali was saying earlier, you know, there's a lot of challenges at an independent level for making money, and there's a lot of people that are branching into multiple areas in order to be able to find some way of having a kind of some way of making money come in, and that is coming from lots of different areas. So there's being multidisciplinary, I used to think it was something special, and I don't think it's that special anymore. I think everyone's so multidisciplinary these days, especially in the independent industry. Everyone has a lot of different strings to their bow. Running labels was a part. It was something I kind of wanted to do. When I was 14, when I first started getting into the music, I had a kind of grand dream that I would do music, that I'd run a record label and I'd have a recording studio, that we would do community-based projects and bring people in and do interesting, I don't know, creative things where we would then be able to release them very quickly and do that, which is, I'm kind of close, I'm getting there. But somewhere along the line it was an idea, and then further down the line I thought, that's crazy, it would be stupid to run a record label, it looks horrific. And it kind of is, but it became an inevitability. It was partly to help myself, and then once I started doing it, I realised that there was this huge responsibility to help artists. And I became quite infected with that idea that I wanted to bring more transparency to the business that we do, and to more honesty, and yeah, just kind of. Well, this is sort of flowing into something now where I'm really looking at how we can turn a record label into working more in a cooperative level, and actually having the artists as investors and do that. And I know there are precedents for that, but I'm trying to get to a point where we can create something that's a benchmark for doing that we can sort of spread around. Because there's so many people starting labels now that they are springing up. Every week I'm getting promos from people saying we're starting a new label now, we're doing a new thing. So there's a lot of that going on, and they're working with artists, and yet there's still a fairly surprising, actually quite flabbergasting lack of understanding about the legalities that work within that and just the technicalities of doing it. So getting into the label side of things very quickly became about trying to one by one at least solve that problem, and now I need to kind of amplify how quickly we can solve that problem.
Well, you probably know, and some of you may know, that we have been running Mycelia Blockchain Labs run by Imogen Heap this week, and people have been actually literally prototyping new kinds of applications for it. I know there are huge challenges, and when you actually get your hands dirty, I mean, it's all right to talk about it. Even when people talk about it, there's this kind of real big misconception by some as to who should benefit, or who's the first person who benefits, or should everybody benefit? And last night, she did an intimate gig for our labs participants and VIPs, and she gave everybody a QR code, which allowed everybody to be an investor in her next track.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, and so basically if this track does well, it's basically like having shares in a track, kind of co-investing. So I hope that you guys can join up here, because I know that you have been in that sort of same mindset of looking at how we do this. But I suppose because you have been thinking so hard about how do you run a label, how do you make a more democratic situation where artists gets to benefit, I guess that led to TJ, right? When we called you about this T-shirt as a track thing, and you just jumped immediately and just went,
Yes.
I mean, it's not like the most natural sort of thing that you would expect people to say.
No, but you're both people I trust, and I mean, especially Dubber, who's you know, I mean, obviously I got to know you through him, and he his writing was very influential to me, and you know, when Bandcamp was starting, and again, going back to what Ali and Double were talking about earlier, I was very much watching that as that was happening as well, and reading his work and understanding about the free flowing of music and what we can and can't control and how we should feel about that, and numerous other nuances within that. So when you guys approached me, it was like, well, yeah, you know, I believe in that.
As I say, he's such a great sport, so maybe we should tell you what this does. Did you want to explain it, maybe?
Yeah, okay, so the T-shirt, I guess at its purest form, there is a T-shirt with an image on the front, and the image performs, I suppose, in a way like a QR code in terms of that it can enable...
It's like an album cover.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of extra beauty about the whole package, but functionality-wise, that image can be scanned by phone and then released to you a track that is unique to this T-shirt. This one, yeah, I recorded a special version of this song. But then it's packaged up in this beautiful way, like vinyl as well.
It even has liner notes on the inside, so you can read.
As well.
There's a story attached to it, so you can go, like in the old album. And the cover can also be scanned. It has a whole story, like the old school vinyl. And so the T-shirt comes in this. This goes into your vinyl collection. The T-shirt can be worn, and if it's in the wash, you can still scan this one and you can still hear your track. But the beauty of it is that, and you said, how do we share?
Yeah.
Your mates can scan you in a pub or in a bar, and wherever it is you're meeting them, and they can hear this exclusive track. They can download the DJ app. And all of a sudden you can start being an influencer, because they can, if they love the track, they can go and buy one themselves. But there's quite a few other things that then come into it, right? Because what then happens is that we all love the fact that Bandcamp connects the fan and the artist.
Yes.
And this does, of course, not only connect the fan who has downloaded the app and has bought the T-shirt, but it will also connect all of their mates who have liked it, and you start to detect how it's spreading, how the kind of taste spreads through all of the people who get engaged with it, which is really quite extraordinary. And then there's the money bit.
Right, yeah.
Which is pretty good. So we were talking about sort of being democratic. So in fact, I don't even know, Adam, if we gave you the full figures of how this works, but it's somewhere between 40, actually maybe Jana knows even better, she's just been looking at the figures just recently, between 40 and 50% that goes to the artist. Yep. It's like ridiculously high. So try and imagine this scenario. You have a product, a fashion product that gets sold in a store, a high street store down in central Stockholm. The store will put a 50% markup on the product, and you're used to paying X amount for a T-shirt or a garment. Well, seeing that this is basically done through crowdfunding, so you just order one in advance and it gets shipped to you within 2 weeks, and that 50% goes direct to the artist. Now, the amount is pretty considerable.
It is definitely. And it's just, I've been thinking recently about how more important something like this is in terms of, I see a lot at the moment of a lot of reaction, a lot of distaste for social media within young musicians and artists that are hanging out and are a part of very, very active local communities of musicians and groups. And they're looking for ways that they are networking that aren't within those traditional social networking forms, because they just find it aggressive, unpleasant, unsocial, compared to going to a jazz session in Deptford in South London and getting really sweaty all night and sharing that sort of thing. And this is something that is physically more within a community kind of space, which is what's really exciting about that. And then put on top of that the financial aspects, and yeah, it's something that's interesting for any artist.
Both are incredibly important. Both the sort of sense of humanity, connectedness with our fans, and also the fact that you can actually live off something like this. Yeah. And I think there's been a lot of people who have really loved this. And just earlier we had a chat with Stefan Planck, who works with Nina Hagen and with some other like people like Annie Lennox and stuff. So watch this space. We're going forward with this format. We are on a mission, aren't we, Adam?
Absolutely, always.
And also, you are really curious about that? Yeah. Let me give you the mic so people can actually hear you. 1 second.
Hello, I'm Francesca. It's actually just a practical question of who finances the production of the actual product.
You know how crowdfunding works? Yeah. Right. So basically, the artist announces the new release. The fan base orders the T-shirt in advance, and the money is given to the production, and basically the profit after the T-shirt is delivered goes to the artist. As simple as that. No stock sitting in warehouses, and no waste whatsoever. It's actually, and no outlay up front. It's pretty good. So basically, as I say, watch this space. Adam will be with us tomorrow again. Actually, we've given you a slot to do whatever you like. Wonderful. And he's a wonderful artist, and you should hear his music. If you're interested in TJs, they're available in all kinds of sizes at that desk upstairs, which is still rather chaotic because all sorts of developers have been picking up T-shirts and all kinds. But it is there. Feel free to get one. You can see one of the people who will benefit directly from it. So we support our artists and we encourage you to invest in them. And thank you so much, Adam Scrimshire. It's been a great
Thank you for having me.
You. Adam Scrimshire.
That's Adam Scrimshire with Michaela Magus, and that's the MTF podcast. The good news is that Adam's finishing work on his new album. I can tell you that it's sounding amazing, and it'll be out a little later this year. If you're interested in finding out more about TJ, check the link in the show notes, or drop me an email, dubber@musictechfest.net, and I'll point you in all the right directions. That's it for this week. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, rate, review, or just say nice things about us in telephone conversations if you still have those. Talk soon and have a great week. Cheers.